Alright guys, MTech Guy here, and today we're going to be taking a look at running costs of an E60 M5. Now this is something I do get asked about from time to time, and it's one of them subjects that's all part of the ownership experience, but most of us don't really want to face. It's something that when you take a closer look at is never going to fill you with joy. And there's a lot of information out there about these cars on forums, other YouTube videos, and they seem to fall into two different categories. Either you get the guys praising the cars, you know, there's a lot of videos out there looking at the exhaust note, the driving experience, the V10 itself, or you've got the other camp where you often see a journalist. They'll be putting a YouTube video out there where they've spent maybe half a day with the car, never owned one before, probably got no real world mechanical experience, and you know they'll go on about how horrendously unreliable they are, rod bearings, this, that and the other thing, SMG gearboxes, and how it's going to cost you an absolute fortune to run one of these cars. Now, as you guys know, we like to speak to the truth on this channel, and I'd like to give you guys an accurate picture of what it's like to actually own one of these cars and the costs involved. So I've owned this car for almost 3 years now, and we'll take a closer look at what it's cost me year to year to run and own and keep on the road an E60 M5. Now I'll be honest with you guys, I've never gone through this exercise before. I've owned a number of cars in the past which I've repaired, I've kept on the road, I've restored, and I've never ever gone through all the receipts and added up what it's cost me to date. But for the sake of the video today, for the sake of putting the information out there just for you guys, that's what I've gone through and done today, and it didn't fill me with joy at all. So yeah, you're welcome. Alright guys. Now of course I'm going to be talking about my ownership specifically here, but obviously it's going to differ from person to person depending on what the condition of the car was when you first bought it, whether it had been looked after properly, whether it had been neglected. It might be costing you an absolute fortune just to bring it up to scratch to get it on the road. And then of course from country to country there's different on the road costs to legally drive your car on the road, so do keep that in mind. Now I'm going to split the costs into two different sections in this video today. First up, we're going to be looking at the on-the-road costs. Now, I'm here over in New Zealand, so like I say, it's going to differ from country to country. Now, all the costs we're going to be looking at today, I'm going to be reeling them off in New Zealand dollars because that's what I've got in front of me. I will leave a comparison at the bottom of the screen in Great British pounds and US dollars also, so that should give you a bit of a gauge how you can compare it to what country you're living in. Okay, so on the road costs here in New Zealand, there's three things we'll be focusing on here. First up, you've got your registration. This is an annual fee. It's a bit like your road tax over in the UK. And then we've got the WOF, the warrant of fitness. That's annual inspection, and that's comparable to an MOT over in the UK, for example. And then of course we've got insurance also. Now it's a bit of a strange one, the insurance over here, because to drive your car legally on the road you don't actually have to have insurance, and the reason being you can't sue anyone for personal injury over here. It's all covered by the state, so if you smash into someone or they smash into you, they cause you injury, that'll all be covered by the state, but you still are liable for damages to the other person's vehicle, or if you put it into the side of someone's property, anything like that, you're going to wear the cost of it. And then of course if someone smashes into your car and are uninsured, you're going to be looking to replace that yourself more than likely. And then if it gets stolen, what are you going to do about it? You're going to be saving up for another car as well, so you'd be an absolute moron not to have insurance. So of course we're going to be factoring in that cost today also. Okay, so registration, rego, that's $110 a year. My WOF, the warrant of fitness, $65 a year, not including any repairs, that's just the inspection itself. And then insurance, I'm 41 years old, got a few no claims bonus up my sleeve, that's costing me $850 a year. Now in addition to that, of course you've got the fuel costs also, and this is where it starts racking up a bit. So I do between, I don't do that many Ks, probably creeping up on 3,000 kilometers a year, so we'll call it 3,000 kilometers. I'm averaging about 5 kilometers per litre. The cost of fuel right now is 2.8 New Zealand dollars per litre. Yes, that's right. And of course it'll have been cheaper over the last 3 years, but moving into the future it's likely to creep up also. So just for the sake of the video today, we'll just work on today's fuel cost, $2.8 per litre. So 3,000 kilometers a year, year on year, that's cost me approximately $1,600 in fuel per year. Gotta love that V10, eh? Now then, moving on to the second section, the parts. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky to quantify, because like I say, this is going to vary so much from car to car, and especially now these cars are getting on a bit. This one's 16, almost 17 years old now, so it's going to affect everyone greatly differently. But like I say, we're going to be focusing on my experience here, so you're just going to have to change that slightly to adjust to your own situation. So just a bit of history on this car. I bought it almost 3 years ago, and the dealer that I bought it from, they'd actually imported the car from Japan 2 years prior and sold it to the customer before me, and then he was having a few problems with it. It was running like a bag of crap, so he part exchanged it, he traded it in at that same dealer for a different car. Now over the time that he owned it, he'd taken it to that dealer's workshop to have it maintained and worked on, and over that time it had a full set of discs and pads. I think it had an ignition coil, there's a few other little bits and pieces, a couple of new rear tyres, got the Contis on the back there, so it cost him a little bit of money, just little odds and sods along the way, you know. And then just before the dealer sold it to me as part of a pre-sales service, it needed high pressure Vanos line. That's what had failed, and that's what was giving the previous owner a load of grief, so they fixed that for me. And while I had the oil pan off, they put a new set of rod bearings in it also, so that's something that I didn't have to worry about when I first took on the car, when I first bought the car. Now of course, if you're looking to buy one of these cars and it hasn't had that done, the high pressure oil line, the rod bearings done, and an inspection of the Vanos pump, that's something you certainly want to be looking at getting done straight away, and then you don't have to worry about anything for what, say a good 10 years. So that just gives you a bit of background on the car. And then of course my first year of ownership, me being me, if you followed the channel, you know I'm a huge advocate for preventative maintenance. I like to look after my cars properly, so I went through, I changed all the fluids and filters, I fixed up a few bits and pieces here and there, and I got stuck into a bit of preventative maintenance. So that first year the costs were up there, but then of course that's something that I don't need to worry about for a few years to come, so of course that's going to taper down year to year. So that just gives you a little bit of background on the car that we're looking at today, my E60 M5. Now another thing to factor in here is that I do pretty much all the work myself, so I've bought a number of parts from the main dealer, of course paying top money for that. Often it's because I want the parts in a pinch, I've been too impatient to wait for them, and it's just handy, they've got them there and then in the city here. But the majority of the parts I've imported from North America, from some of the big part suppliers there. It's a lot cheaper, even with the postage and everything else factored in. As long as I plan my maintenance, plan the jobs coming up, then I can save a lot of money there. And like I say, I haven't really had to pay for labour, so do keep that in mind. If you are paying a garage to do these repairs for you, then it's going to cost you a heck of a lot more money. Now I'm not going to get into each and every little repair that I've done on the car year on year. I'm not going to get into that whatsoever in this video today. If you are interested in that though, I have done a couple of previous videos at the end of each year of the ownership of this car where I've quantified what the car's needed. I'll leave some links at the top of the screen here and at the end of the video if you are interested. But anyway, enough of the waffle. Let's get into the costs of what it's cost me in parts year on year. Alright, so that first year of ownership, 2019, it cost me 4,348 New Zealand dollars in parts. Oh boy. Second year of ownership, 2020, $2,993, and then the third year of ownership, 1,170. So there you go, you can see that I've dumped a fair bit of money that first year into the car just to bring it up to spec. It's just all clean fluids and filters, a bit of preventative maintenance. It gives you a good baseline to start off with the new ownership of the car, and then as the years have gone on it's tapered off slightly, and then hopefully it's just going to need the odd part here and there in the next few years to come in the near future. So if we combine them costs with the running costs each year, the first year has cost me to maintain the car and keep it on the road and to be able to drive it legally $6,973. Second year, $5,618, and the third year $3,795. Alright guys, so there we have it. That's what it's cost me year on year, running costs of an E60 M5. Now I hope this gives you guys an accurate picture of what you might be getting into if you're looking to buy one of these cars, or if you just bought one where you just realised that you've got yourself in for. But of course, this is just one aspect of the ownership, and you've got to offset that, you've got to balance that with all the joy that the car brings you. You know, when you've got your foot down and you're screaming that V10 8,250 RPMs, yeah, you know, you ain't got anything to worry about when that's happening. So you do have to keep that in mind. They're an amazing car, but like I say, we like to speak the truth on this channel. So I do hope that that gives you guys an accurate picture of what it's like to own a BMW E60 M5 in 2022. Alright guys, so if you found the video interesting or useful, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more BMW E60 M5 content. I'm MTech Guy, thanks a lot for watching.